Confirm live. Rest in peace to Takeoff and Aaron Carter. Here we go. I believe I am live. Making sure I get video. There we are.
Chicks.
Give it a minute for people to get in.
The Golden Witch. Chitsy. You can do like effects, right?
Yeah.
How?
So you see the input tracks right here?
You should do it, Loki.
So what vocal effects are we messing with here?
I was gonna put on some lo-fi, not quite that much, but just enough to give it like a crispy, crumbly sound.
We got this logo out here.
That's the company right there.
And this right here. The feeling is an idea with roots. Zymoth.
Facts.
Yes.
True facts.
Whoever's repping Kid Cudi, hit me up.
That'd be nice.
We'll be hearing from my agent. What's up?
Wow. I'm gonna go for some effects.
In the eyes and it's blind in the way that it gets in and stays where you need it for sight. You just might have to bite at the hand that feeds and chew till it bleeds to get right. Mightier than any sword, winning more than all awards. On a roller, trolling, never choking, never ever bored. I can never be ignored, way too fucking loud for that. Unrepentantly a brat, one depends on freaking cat. Blast back if you feel real brave. I save my crazy flows for blowback. The ones who know that are dead though, so no one knows this queen of the Stone Age who stays stoned. Sunlight through the canopy, camping in the streets. Everywhere my feet fall is where I presently feel at home. Anywhere I roam, metallic screeches sure to follow. I can't swallow my pride or jump off of the ride. I'm pretty sure I'm conducting, pressing all the buttons and turning all of the knobs. Not a young heartthrob, more like a hot mom, but I'm busting up your dysfunction. Bread's in the oven, the coven is stirring the pot when the whirring won't stop and you're worried a lot. Drink the slurry and stop. Give it a minute to breathe for the drop. Let your concerns and brain worms on the plot. Be that thing that you said that you thought you were not. Through those grit teeth you nearly broke, thinking the thought. You can be broke, choking tears back and rotting inside every night, feeling like quitting the fight till some light hits you right in the eyes and it's blind in the way that it gets in and stays where you need it for sight. You just might have to bite at the hand that feeds and chew till it bleeds to get right. Mightier than any sword, winning more than all the awards. On a roller, trolling, never choking, never ever bored. I can never be ignored, way too fucking loud for that. Unrepentantly a brat, one depends on freaking cap. Blast back if you feel real brave. I save my crazy flows for blowback. The ones who know that are dead though, so no one knows this queen of the Stone Age who stays stoned. May live in a glass home but cast stones at the broken pieces of the broken pieces of a broken psyche that I chose to bleed for more clicks and money and likies. Intelligible as Brad Pitt as a pikey. She's breaking in the mic, she's breaking everything in sight, and she's off into the night. Yeah, alright. MILF jacket? Someone just called what I wear a MILF jacket. It was a gift from someone who noticed that I sleep in late a lot, and it says sleep in late on the back. I would show it, but I don't really have space to get up where I'm sitting. Hello everybody. Welcome to the monthly Rant stream. I just thought I'd start with that song because I figure a lot of people are not going to end up seeing it. It's on another channel, deep into a video, and yeah, I just wanted to show off that performance because it was fun and I like it. Anywho, it's time to do some rants. I get these requests on Patreon. I forgot to actually open up the Patreon page to have the requests ready. Going over to do that. It's been a while. A month, at least. Since that's about how often I do these rant streams. Let's figure out what the last rant I remember actually having done was. I remember this. Let's see. This sounds unfamiliar. Okay, I don't think I remember answering this rant request from Skydiver. It says, I had a question for you about being a critic versus being a creative. For most of my life, I've been an aspiring musician, but I feel like I have the writing ability, editing skills, and personality to be a successful media critic. But there's something deep down that stops me saying your time would be better spent creating than critiquing, so I never do it. I wanted to know your take on this. People like you and Roger Ebert inspire me and show me that critiquing can be an art in and of itself, but again, there's always that nagging feeling in the back of my head that creating is more worthwhile than critiquing. Can I do both? I would always encourage you to do both. I think the best reason to critique is as a means of getting better at creating. Maybe I did actually answer this rant, because now that I've read it out loud, I feel like I've given this answer before. But I do think that, you know, just to answer it again, because I think it's an interesting topic. Yeah, I think, like, for me, I was trying to be a creative, and I thought my work wasn't very good for, a long time. You know, like, when I was trying to just write original fiction, I couldn't figure out, like, what is missing about my stories. It's some combination of, like, worldly experience that would be able to, like, understand how to write a convincing set of characters in a convincing world. Because I could tell that my world didn't make sense in the stories that I was creating back then. So, like, you know, in addition to that, like, I felt like there were just moments where my characters, anytime they tried to do something too far afield of what I would do or say, then it stopped being realistic. It stopped feeling real. So it's just like I needed more perspective into to knowing more people, but also knowing more media. If you haven't, like, read lots of stories or seen lots of, you know, in your case, making music, the more different types of music you listen to and the more you think about music, the more you'll be able to come up with new and interesting ways of approaching creating music. So, you know, I would say critiquing as a means of getting better at creating is a good reason to do both. But if you're trying to critique as, like, an art form for the sake of, like, other people, you know, I would say it's critiquing is like, if you're trying to, like, explain yourself to other people so that they'll see things the way you do, you're not really going to get that effect. You'll get people, like, getting bits and pieces of what you're saying and applying it to their own life and their own thinking, but it's never going to be like they actually really are thinking about it the same way you do. It's like a proximity. I would say the most interesting way to do critiquing is to try to tell a story, you know, through the critique itself, and not just focus on, like, critiquing the media. Anywho, I'm pretty sure I did do that rant before, but I ended up doing it again because I wanted to. It's a good warm-up. Alright. I don't know if I did this one. I don't remember talking about Laura Bailey. Kudere-kun said, for October, rant about Laura Bailey is your favorite dub voice actress and what anime you liked her in. I remember you revealed that once, and it's occupying a lot of space in my brain because I watch way more dubs than you do, yet she's not prominent in many I've seen, just Detective Conan, aka Case Closed, which I got into this year. So, mostly my basis for this is the show Kodocha, Kodomo no Omocha, which is, like, a show that I saw on the Funimation network. Like, it would just, that was a channel I had for, I don't know, like, a year, and most of the shit that they played on there just sounded fucking awful. Like, most of the Funimation dubs were really, really bad. Like, for instance, Revolutionary Girl Utena, amazing anime, awful dub. There's no way I could have sat through that on the Funimation network. But when I heard online that it was, like, a good show, I went and found the subtitled version and watched it and fell in love with it. And it was one of many shows where, like, the Japanese voice cast are, like, all these recognizable people who I found in all these other shows, so the meta context of, like, learning Japanese voice acting also kind of endeared me further to get away from dubs. But, you know, the time I had Funimation Network, like, I wasn't totally averse to watching anime dubbed yet. It really came more as, again, a result of like being interested enough in the Japanese voice industry that I would much rather watch anything in Japanese so that I can learn more about like the bigger context of things than ever watch it in English. But nonetheless, I had already seen Kodocha in English, and I really liked Laura Bailey's performance as the main character, Sana Kurata, who is one of my favorite anime characters in general. She's just a really fucking fun character, and the performance, you know, really brings a lot of life to it. But it's not like anyone else in the show is like amazingly voiced, so it's still probably not necessarily a better experience dubbed. I haven't really watched it in Japanese. I can't speak on if the Japanese performance is better or worse. I found Laura Bailey's voice pleasant in various contexts. I'm sure at this point it's partly nostalgic, so if I hear it, I'll just be like, oh hey, that's a voice I know. I haven't loved every performance I have heard from her, though. And again, most things dubbed just awful. I think she was also in Yu Yu Hakusho, and she was fine in that. She might have even been Keiko. I can't remember. But yeah, she's always just been the most... She has the best dub role I've heard, and is the most tolerable voice in general as a result of it, I think. Alright. Rallis. This is a big one. This is something I've been anticipating, because Rallis came in with $30 for rant requests. He said because he's dying to hear my responses. This is multiple different questions, so I've split them up. You may be better off responding to this request one paragraph at a time. Alright, well, there's 3 paragraphs distinctly, so we'll go through and we'll respond to each of them. First, I get that conversations are enjoyable, and I get that they're healthy. Humans desire social interaction, and there are probably some positive body chemical interactions that come from talking with someone. But please humor me and set that aside for this question. Aside from enjoyment and health benefits, what are the main things you get out of conversations with other people? Could you name the 3 largest ways that conversations benefit you or enrich your life? Okay. This is a really interesting question. Already, I mean, the level of thought that this, like a statement like this, hearing someone, this isn't, you know, necessarily a conversation in the more physical sense that you're describing at the start. I feel like we're having a conversation when I do these rant requests. Like, I'm reading what someone's writing, which writing to me is like a portal directly into your mind. So it's like I just from the way that you write and everything, like there's so much for me to take in, because it makes me like imagine what if my mind was organized like that, you know? And like the more I learn about someone's mental organization, the better I understand like why they say the things they do, because everyone's communication is so layered that when I talk to people, I get so many different things out of the conversation that sometimes I don't want it to end, because I want to understand all of those different things. Like, I'm really trying to get to the bottom of all the different things that I'm realizing as I'm having a conversation with somebody. And so I'll be compelled to keep talking to that person until I kind of get the way that they approach life, at the very least. Not necessarily how they think, because I think that everyone's brain sound is very different from, like, the result of it. I think, like, you know, anybody's actual mind would just be so fucking incomprehensible that there'd be nothing to parse out of it to another person. They'd just be like, what the fuck is going on here, and why is it like this? But at the very least, people act through enough reason and converse, because I consider that to be an action when you speak, with enough reason that you can, like, find the pattern in the reason and figure out, like, what is this person trying to do by way of speaking? What are they trying to accomplish? You know, in my case, it's often like, figure out how I can have something interesting to say for as long as possible. You know, is like the idea when it comes to a show like this. That's the pattern that you'll notice in the behavior. One of them, anyway. You know, obviously, again, very multi-layered, but Yeah, so that's one of the largest ways that conversations benefit and enrich my life is they give me more insight into the way a person is so that I can understand the way that they act and the way that they think enough to, not even the way that they think, but just the way that they speak enough to really get what they're saying beyond what the words are, beyond the choice of words. Like in this paragraph, it feels like what you're saying is, I don't really understand what is the benefit of conversation. Someone please tell me what makes conversation so interesting. And the extremely like disconnected approach you've taken of like starting by having to like, I would have fucking never thought to bring up the body chemical interactions that come from talking to someone. I don't know, maybe I would have. Maybe it would have come up somewhere in my list of reasons that conversation is good. But it sounds like I'm talking to a robot when that's the first thing that you bring up about conversation. So that like fascinates me into thinking, okay, like I'm talking to somebody who isn't figuring out, like, aside from, again, a physical response, like, isn't having interesting conversations, I guess. So hopefully this is if this gives you an endless amount of things to think about listening to me describe your paragraph, then that is the appeal of the conversation. And it could be dangerous. Like I know people who never stop pulling on the thread of conversation, like like I usually try to end a rant, I don't want it to go forever. I'm not trying to make it go forever. I'm trying to make it go as long as it's interesting for me. This one happens to be really interesting to me, so I can go on about it. But like, if I pull this thread forever, I'll never stop thinking about it. Like we could be here all day. And if I send someone into a spiral through my conversation with them where they're now thinking all day, sometimes I feel guilty about that. Like I really try not to get so real with people about what I read in their communication that it's gonna like fuck with their ability to be themselves, because most people are like don't know where to go with that. Like you can't just like experience an ego death and then just like go back to work the next day and like well, okay, you will, but it'll just wear off, basically, is what I'm saying. It's like you can't just be, I don't know what I'm trying to explain here. I know I'm being way too esoteric with what I'm explaining now. I'm trying to think of now another way that conversation is a benefit. Also, I'm looking at the chat. I see there's a bunch of stuff in here. I have not seen Sunny Boy, so don't even try to offer me rant money for it, because I will not know what to say. We are Night Otaku. I do not know what you are talking about. It sounds interesting, but I can't understand it. Anyway, 3 largest ways conversations benefit you or enrich your life. I guess the third way would be like you learn things most quickly probably through conversation, especially face to face. When I try to communicate with people through text, like I overthink what I'm trying to say, and so there's just a lot less density of information just being transmitted right away. It's like if someone's in front of me and I can look them in the eyes and I can figure out what they need to hear right away, as opposed to like trying to invent them in my mind and then write what I think a person would understand or something like that. Thank you, Gary Always, for the $2 and says Baby Stabber was really good. Also, shout out Anonymous with $2 who said, you always stream when I'm dead ass broke when I was playing the intro. It got a laugh out of me. Obviously, I always stream when I'm dead ass broke too. But we're probably all dead ass broke. I just think that's the reality of Earth right now. It doesn't seem like people have money. I think the pandemic killed having money or something. Except for people who are on TikTok. Or who because TikTok, you don't make any money. It's just for people who already have money to show off things that they already have. That's my TikTok rant for free. But yeah, the other way that conversations benefit you is you learn stuff. Like, you really quickly can soak up a whole bunch of insight from a person just telling you shit. I mean, if you go watch, for instance, on the Picnic Adventure channel, which I've been spending a lot of my time just getting way ahead on editing all this footage that I've had just around for the last year. You know, we did these live streams where I'm just basically Picnic Adventure is a YouTube channel. Bird Friends Play is the Twitch channel. It's also a YouTube channel, which is where Bird has been doing gaming shows. So we've got like a Let's Play show going on and a live stream show under the name Bird Friends Play. Picnic Adventures is a show where I've like take footage of us going on adventures and stuff, and since I also stream sometimes IRL while we're on our adventures, the highlights of that go to the Picnic Adventure channel. This sounds more complicated when I explain it than it is to just like go there, but anyways, we've been doing IRL streams where I just film Bird having conversations with people, and then I take each conversation by topic and I put it on the Picnic Adventure channel as a stream highlight. And like for instance, one of them is a very long conversation about bartending and alcohol and favorite drinks. And if you listen to that, you will learn a lot about a bartender's perspective on what are the best drinks to get, what are the most annoying orders, you know, what type of people are going to, you know, be fun for them to deal with, what it's like to have to continue living in a town where you bartend, you know, just and also if you listen to like the Afghanistan story, that's a whole lot of perspective on what it's like to be you know, in Afghanistan almost dying from a donkey exploding on you. So like those are the interesting benefits of conversations that I've just seen recently and captured onto that channel. Alright, let's move on to the second rant request here. This person gave me $30 for 3 rant requests, which technically is like way overkill for what it even costs. So you know. Second, what does an individual needs to do in order to generate a valuable conversation with another person? Okay, I think mostly you have to be interested in what they have to say. And interested in sharing something with them, and or, I will say. Like, if you just want someone's information, you can just kind of interview them. Most people like talking about themselves and don't really get a lot of opportunities to share most of the shit that they have thought about with somebody who, like, has nothing to do with the situation. Like, if your job is really hard because your boss is a prick, you might be able to talk about your coworkers with it, but like depending on the situation, there might be certain things that like no one can really, like maybe no one's on your side, you know, and then you talk to somebody from an outside perspective and you can just dump all of it on them because they have nothing to do with it and don't give a fuck, you know, but they might be interested in hearing the story just to get perspective on what it would be like working at that place doing that thing. You know, I, as somebody who's been an aspiring novelist since my teens, has spent a lot of time just asking people about what they do to, like, you know, be able to write about it. And then as for, like, value for, like, extending value in a conversation, mostly, like, I guess just what do you think other people should hear from you? Like, what unique perspective do you have? Oftentimes it just comes out, like, if you're talking to someone and then at some point you find yourself just handing over information, then clearly you thought for some reason that they should know that. Hopefully you're convincing and not an asshole about it, you know? But, like, it's, yeah, it's like, what do you want other people to know about you? Anyway, third question. What questions are good to ask people in order to create a valuable conversation? Obviously, people are very idiosyncratic, but suppose you wanted a list of questions that you could ask at least 5% of the first world population and get a meaningful answer from. Yes, I am asking in large part to use this for my own sake. If it makes it any easier to answer, I'm a person you'd think of in the nerd/story writer cluster of people. The more questions you can think of, the better. This is my third question, and according to your Patreon, $30 is enough for 6 questions. But please just keep the list going as long as you feel it is merited for the amount of money sent to you. You can also digress or elaborate as you feel is needed, but please keep trying to add to the list as much as possible. So you want a literal list of questions you think would be good conversation starters for anybody in the first world. The first world is a very diverse place. Here's the thing. There's not necessarily a lot of contexts where people are looking to have conversations started with them out of nowhere. The internet guaranteed is one of those places. Everyone who's online is trying to have a conversation with somebody about whatever they're thinking about right now. Like, if you went on Twitter and basically responded to any tweet with, like, a leading question or a joke or anything that might prompt a response, you're probably going to get a response because everyone who's on Twitter is really bored and really needs attention right now. That's why they're there. It's just you pop in, try to get attention right now. So, like, contextually, if you're just looking for someone to, like, have a little pew with, bam, get on Twitter, waste 5 minutes, and then get off, you know? Reddit is a place where everyone is trying to share information with each other at great length. They're all trying to... They all think, basically, that there is a level of, like, of individual, like, information like you as an individual should be like a computer full of information, like one node of the brain supercomputer that is all of Earth, and like and so you're trying to like raise the maximum level of information known by all people. Like it's basically, I guess I would call it homesteading the noosphere. It's just literally people trying to expand the amount of knowledge everyone has. So if you just want to learn about some subject, go there and talk to anybody, you know, and go to the board. There is a board for whatever topic it is. There's definitely a Reddit for it. And there's somebody who is willing to go on at great fucking length about that topic if you look for them. If there's a video you watch that's interesting, you leave a comment, you know. So the internet is a great place for this level of like, I'm looking for someone to have a conversation with, you know? It's pretty much the point of it. And yeah, there's also anonymous boards and stuff like 4chan, but I wouldn't encourage that for someone who's looking to improve their communication. That's for people who can't communicate well to fist fight each other in a it's a real crabs in a bucket place for people who can't communicate. Anyway, the internet is good for starting conversations. There's lots of special interest boards out there and stuff for whatever you're into to talk to people about. Offline, like, it's a lot harder to find someone you can have a conversation about something specific with. It's more so like you're looking for people who you just enjoy having conversations with, period, because of the way that they think gels with the way you think, you know? So like if like for me, a fun conversation requires that both of us be in like a similar headspace in terms of like what we're trying to what we're basically trying to do right now. Like, are we trying to have a deep conversation? Are we trying to have a funny conversation? Are we trying to vent about something? Is there like, is it one-sided? Is it two-sided? Do you just want to hear me talk? Do you want to talk with me? Like, there's a lot of different types of conversations that might be happening, and it all depends on like who you can find to have those conversations. If you IRL don't have anyone to have a conversation with right now, it's not easily going to happen by like walking around your hometown and like looking for someone who happens to share your interests. Now, maybe if you look into like places locally that are like groups that are interested in this stuff, like you say you're a writer, if you look into like a writers group, maybe you can find somebody at a writers group that you would enjoy talking about writing with. You know, speaking personally, I'm a difficult person who doesn't enjoy lots of conversations. I like talking. I like going on. I like, I like this type of thing where I get to have as much reaction as I feel appropriate to what someone else said to me, and they have no way of interacting back. I do think that based on when I did the old Digibro versus Everybody show back in 2018, the conceit of that show was like people are always trying to argue with me about shit online. What if I just let them come and talk to me directly and we just try to like resolve the issue? And like most of the time, like a lot of people were just calling in because they were like looking for an excuse to be on the show and get a chance to talk to me, so they just came up with something. But a lot of the time, people would have something they thought they disagreed with me on, and then we would realize that it wasn't really a disagreement, or that like it wasn't that big a deal. It was very rare that like it was actually like a real argument, and then either I would convince that person to my side or they would convince me to their side, and we would come away like, you know, like, hey, everything's cool. And I feel like, so even though like the attitude of the show is supposed to be confrontational, all of the conversations seemed to end really well for everybody. Like I would always feel like, either I just was put in my place and now I'm gonna really think about what that person said, or I really put that person in their place and they said they're gonna go think about what was said. And I just think like having conversations on purpose often leads to good results. Like if you're going out of your way to have a deliberate, purposeful conversation about a topic, everybody understands and agrees that they're going into it for the same reasons. That's what leads to a good conversation. So I don't think there are a list of questions you can ask 5% of all people that will lead to an interesting conversation. That is just way too simple. Having said that, Dick Masterson, who's one of my friends and a great podcaster, has the advice that if you're trying to specifically pick up women, his original go-to was ask them about their dad. What's your dad like? Most people have some kind of opinion about their dad. And whether it's negative or positive, it's something that they feel passionately about and will likely go on about. So asking people about their dad, if it's it really probably works on both genders just as easily. It's probably easier for most people to talk about their dad than their mom. So I would say, ask people about their dad is a good answer. But also, compliment people's shoes. Ask them about their shoes. People put a lot of thought into what they wear most of the time. Or they're feeling insecure about how little thought they put into what they wear. So if you compliment them and make them feel good about what they're wearing, it makes them open up to you better. So those are some easy ones, but otherwise there's just, like, again, it depends on the type of conversation you're trying to have and the context and what you're looking for. If you're just blanket looking for interesting conversation, I really do think Reddit is your go-to. Like, just go talk to people about whatever their special interest is at great length. And, I think you'll enjoy yourself. Okay, enough of the Rallis rants. Thank you so much. We're moving on. There's more rants to be had. If anybody else wants a rant, go ahead and submit a request. Patreon's the preferred method between that and a YouTube super chat, just because of how much YouTube takes out of it. But I don't really care either way. If you send me $5, I'll rant about whatever you want. Let's see. Affirmakosh. I forgot to place a rant request last month, so I wanted to know if it's okay to have 2 this month. Sure, why not? In case it's okay, here are the 2 rants. Favorite fruits and vegetables, and then I'll do the other one after that. Okay, my favorite fruits and vegetables. I tend to go for banana. It's just quick and easy. I basically can't eat two of them within like 6 hours of each other. But it's like something that I might see every day and just grab one and eat it, you know, as a snack randomly in the middle of the day. It just makes me feel healthier. I've come to really enjoy cuties, those little mini oranges. Just peel them and eat them. Throw the fucking peels into the woods while you're out walking, because they're biodegradable. Those are like my go-to fruits as of recently. I like apples, they're fine. I usually don't want to eat an entire apple unless it's like in slices for some reason, then it's easier. Especially if you have some peanut butter, then it's pretty good. Vegetables, I'm a huge onion fan. I'll have onions on any place it's appropriate to have onions. Peppers are great. I love hot sauce and anything that's heavily spiced. What else is a vegetable? Fucking mushrooms are not a vegetable, are they? They're a fungus. Are they a fruit? Or they're not any of those categories, right? They're probably legally considered vegetables for food purposes or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're considered, but I like mushrooms a lot. So if that's a vegetable, then throw it in the pot. What else is a vegetable? That's good. Fucking eggplant's okay. Eggplant, like lasagna, is pretty good. Vegetables. I like broccoli, especially if it's cooked well and like seasoned well, you know. And spinach. Blueberries, yes, thank you for reminding me. I mean, blueberry is my favorite flavoring. Like, I will get blueberry anything. So, you know, blueberry straight, it took me a while to actually get into just because it's so much flavor at once. So, you know, sour. But, yeah, I have come to just start eating blueberries by the fistful sometimes. It's also hard to get consistent blueberries, you know? Grapes are also good. So yeah, those are the toppest tier fruits and vegetables. And then the other rant, talk about a show that you gave a 5 or a 6 to because it has amazing stuff in it and also terrible stuff in it, and contrast it with a show that you gave a 5 or a 6 to because it was truly average. All right, I'm going to go to my anime list and look at what I've given those scores to real quick. Oh, I typed the golden watch with an O. Let me get this profile open real quick. I'll switch our viewpoint over so you can all join me here on my anime list. And we'll sort by score. Yes, thank you. And then go down, go down to the 6s and the 5s. All right. Some of these scores would probably change if I watched these again today because most of these scores are very old. Mobile Suit Gundam F91 is a perfect example of like the opening of the movie is fucking amazing. The first like 30 minutes or so, it's just pure chaos of mechs fighting inside of a space colony, drawn as beautifully as imaginable. It just looks fucking incredible. And it's there's the scene where a shell casing hits a lady in the head and she dies, and then they pick up her baby and take it with them, and then they're just off into White Base. Let's go. The problem with this movie is that it was an attempt to basically like reboot Mobile Suit Gundam's main Universal Century. It's like Tomino's trying to move on. You know, he did Char's counterattack. He's like, all right, Char and Amuro are done. We're moving forward to 91. We're gonna start over, and I got a new cast of characters. Let's go. And the movie is just like clearly way too expensive. The characters just aren't that memorable. Like, nothing that happens past that amazing first 20 minutes is really that interesting, and it ends up just being mostly set up for like a trilogy that was supposed to be and never was. So yeah, it's not a great film overall, but the opening is so good. Wolf's Rain I'd probably score higher if I watched it again. A lot. Inuyasha is another example of like, yeah, it's got some really strong like first 30 episodes, but probably net it like a strong 7 to a light 8, and then it just like just so bad later. There's a bunch of these I know I would raise my score for if I watched them again, like Blood the Last Vampire. Ghost in the Shell 2 I just didn't like comprehend at the time I watched it. God, like a lot of these, Venus Wars is like really gorgeous and has like fun scenes and stuff, but just none of it really clicks as like a narrative. It's just not an interesting story, and the characters don't really grab me. So that might be closer to Phantom Quest Corp. Might also be closer to like these. Some of the stuff that I have in the 6 range is basically like, it looks really good. It has a good core concept. It's just not interesting. It's not memorable. It doesn't go anywhere, you know. Phantom Quest Corps would be an example of that. Ninja Ryukenden is just like fun action schlock. It's you know, you could pop it in and have a good time, and it'd be whatever. Let's go down to the 5s and see if we can find like a bigger contrast of, because I feel like a lot of these 6s are fine shows. Okay. Yeah, Metal Fighter Miku, it's like mostly pretty boring, but then it has like really crazy aesthetics in the last few episodes. I feel so like, just looking at all these shows, it's so hard for me to relate them back to like a number score. Like, I kind of want to take all these scores down now. Like, as I'm looking at them, I'm like, none of this, I don't relate to, you know, scoring them this way. I'm more interested in like specifically what that thing is, not why it boiled down to like a 6 or a 5 or whatever. Yeah, none of them, like, it's hard for me to find something and say it's truly average. Like, it's usually that there's something really great offset by something really bad. I can't think of anything that's just like so middle of the road that it's unremarkably a 5. I mean, something that was that way, I would probably score much worse than that. You know, if it's so like middling that nothing about it stands out, I probably would not even give it a 5 or a 6 on Mal. I have to assume that's the issue I'm running into with that. Anyway, back to the stream scene here. Let's see. We have only one more rant here on the Patreon. And I haven't gotten any new requests here in the chat, so we might be getting close to the end of this here rant stream, fellas and ladies and non-binaries. Monco Destroyer says, "This is not a rant. Was gonna ask what your policy, now that before you describe yourself as Abradolf Linkler policy, on a one hand, I really think in the authoritative way, hey, if we just control everyone, we can make a perfect society. However, I would not fit in that perfect society at all, so I would be fucking myself, so we have to be free and liberal and go against that. Rant about how your gender change what you find interesting in anime, like Hibari-kun and other." What the hell? Okay, so that opening part isn't a rant request, right? Okay. Authoritarianism is bad. That's all I have to say on the opening part. Rant about how your gender changed what you find interesting in anime, like Hibari-kun and other. Rant about how your gender changed what you find interesting in anime, like Hibari-kun and other. Yeah. I think you're asking about how my gender changed what I find interesting in anime, or are you asking about how some like I I just this is a really tough one to parse. But I'm rant about how your gender changed what you find interesting in anime. Like Hibari, because like it's specifically asking me. I know that because of the Hibari-kun, because nobody else cares about that show. So okay. I mean, what I find interesting about Hibari-kun is the character Hibari-kun is obviously like the author's idea of like who they want, like who, like an idealized version of having a teenaged life in the author's mind. Like Hibari-kun is this like incredibly charismatic person. She's very feminine and girly, but also like clearly isn't following the rules of being a girl, or a obviously not following the rules of being a boy, and that's most of what the show's about. But like, you know, it's that Hibari is just purely being herself and doesn't care what anyone else thinks, but is beloved for it because being herself is like just being a nice good person who's like helpful and cute, and like everyone loves to have her around, you know? So it's definite like dream posting, but there's conflict in it, in that because, you know, like the guy who is in love with Hibari also knows that Hibari was born a boy and isn't sure if he should be attracted to her, but you know, he continually shows himself to be like a really great guy who actually makes her life better. And so like you end up rooting for their romance in a very normal way, you know? It's just like, this is a cute high school rom-com where the only thing really holding them back from going all the way is that, you know, the guy is afraid of being in love with Hibari-kun, but also because of the father who keeps re-emphasizing that like Hibari is not a girl. Hibari is not a girl. Like that's the dad, until the point where he finally breaks. Like later into the show, starts seeing Hibari as a girl and just like can't even like continue with the plot anymore. So yeah, I think like I don't know what my gender really contributes to it, more than like that I also like see Hibari as like, this is who I wish I could have been in high school, you know? Like this is exactly the character that I would have wanted to be like. But only in as much as like consequentially, like I guess it's like if I think I see myself as there's a version of me that could have been like Hibari-kun if I had known that that was a way to be, you know, and like decided to be that way. And that's for me like the escapism, and I wonder if that is how it feels for the author as well. So does that change what I find interesting in anime? I don't know if other people wouldn't find that to be interesting about Hibari-kun. Like I don't know if other people wouldn't connect with the character for all the same reasons in the same ways, as long as you don't feel like a disconnect over like, you know, feeling like, I can't relate to this character because they're not the same gender as me, you know? Like if you don't feel that, then there's no reason you couldn't also connect with the character for all the same reasons. So I don't know what my gender really changes about it. Anyway, I've gotten a bunch of rant requests in the time that I was doing that rant request, so thank you. Necomancer with $5 is the first. What's the most reliable way to contact you to discuss collaborations and films to make in the future? Also rant about my Mal, Basic Jumpy. Twitter, I guess, or Patreon, or you know, I guess it really depends on like what you're talking about, because I don't respond to stuff unless I have a real clear sense of like what I'm being asked for, you know? Like when you say work on collaborations and films to make in the future. If you sent me an email that's like, here's what I want you to do for this thing that I have, and here's how to do it, and then I like can do that and want to, then I'll be like, cool, I'll do that. But you know, the types of requests I get sometimes are just as simple as, hey, we should collaborate. And I'm like, I don't know who you are or what you do. Like, so, you know, just gotta define the nature of it and be insistent if you want my attention, because I'm incredibly fickle and barely can keep track of what I'm doing most of the time. Alright, I like your profile picture. I really like this image of what looks like a beach at night. Kind of reminds me of Puma Blue, that one music video. Alright, top 10. Oh, I should probably fucking make it so everybody can see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Alright, yeah, very cool Haibane Renmei profile picture. Very cool banner here for this haunting nighttime beachscape. Anyway, Serial Experiments Lane, top tier. Bakemonogatari, great. Ava, great. Wait, is this the rebuild? Interesting. Alright. Ghost in the Shell, Hunter x Hunter, Higurashi, Karekano, Kobayashi, Madoka Spy Family. It's all great. I don't know what to tell you. It's all great. It's all good shit. Your manga. What is this? Oyasumi Punpun, NHK, Akunohana. Basically, it's like this is overall the schizotypal dissociative starter pack. It's how I would diagnose this this mal page. We got Lane, we got Punpun, we got NHK, and we got Monogatari. So I'm going to go ahead and say you got voices in your head and they don't shut the fuck up. And they make lots of weird noises. Because that's the only way that this makes any sense. You got Lane, Hitagi, Kiki, Motoko. All people that you know are literally me. Rika also. These are all great. Yeah, they're all great. Everything here is ace. Everything here is top tier. I got nothing to say but praise for this Mal. Congratulations. You did it. You won the My Anime List Olympics. Alright, next rant. Austin Doobie with $5. Could you rant about either your favorite novel or the one you would recommend everyone read? The latest Super Eye Patch Wolf video has a whole segment about my favorite novel, recommending it in a way that I wouldn't be able to do as good of a job of, but it's about House of Leaves. Highly recommend that video. It's about liminal spaces and liminal horror, and it talks about House of Leaves as an example of that. It's interesting because he really only talks about the narrative within the narrative of House of Leaves and doesn't even go on to talk about the external contextualizing narratives around it. It's a complicated book. It's really good. I don't read very much. Don't read very much novels. I watch lots of movies. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of anime. And I've read a lot of the internet. So I've read lots of just little short shitposty type flash fictions and stuff. I am not a person who reads novels. So like I've been recommending House of Leaves for 12 years now because it was the last time that I read a novel and it blew my mind fuck. And I just haven't since then read a mind-blowing novel. I've read a lot of short stories from Jorge Luis Borges that blew my mind in that time. I haven't finished an Umberto Eco book that I am pretty sure is really good. I don't read. So House of Leaves is the best I got, and I really recommend watching a YouTube video about it before you read it. Anyway. I'm trying to think if there's like another novel I recommend everybody read, but that's just like my favorite. And you have to read it physically. It's a book you have to actually obtain and read physically because of the way that it's structured. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just like blanking. Trying to think something I care if anybody reads. Berserk Chip with a $20 rant request. Thank you very much. In We Have Forgotten Love, I think you implied that you would go back to some of the shows you disliked to find what people love about them. Would you or have you considered doing that for the film Madoka Rebellion? I have thought about it because of the fact that there are people who love that movie so very much. People have written long analytical diatribes about that movie. People have obsessed over and fawned over its images and its themes and its messages. Maybe I'd connect with it better. Maybe I'd understand it better. Maybe I've had whatever experience that made me connect with it. I don't really remember the movie that well, like what it's about. I remember feeling like it was, you know, for the first half, like basically really gorgeous fan service. And then it just kind of totally lost me in the themes. And I just didn't know what was even fucking going on, you know, past a certain point. So, yeah, I'd probably have to rewatch it to even comprehend it and then decide if I like it or not. Chances are I'll like it more. As time goes on, I find myself kind of liking everything more because I have more appreciation for, like, how hard it is to make something. Having said that, like, when I can see something that is, like, incredibly lazy being made by people that, like, I know have the means to make something serious, then I kind of have to be like, well, okay, but, like, I'm pretty sure you could do something better than this. But, you know, it's hard for me to be, like, upset with media anymore. So, like, Madoka Rebellion, I remember being kind of, like, upset that I didn't get it and, like, unwilling to go more into it and just kind of, like, you know, well, fuck that movie, it doesn't make any sense, you know, I don't care that much. Maybe I'd feel differently now. It's hard to say, though, because I haven't been really watching any anime lately. I haven't been even, like, you know, haven't been giving it that look, haven't been giving it that side glance, that checking it out, you know, I haven't really been giving it that eyeball, you know? So, we'll see. Gary Always with $2 says, do you watch Toonrific Tariq? He did How to Black. I do not know what that is. So, no, I do not watch it. I'll check it out, though. Alright. This is like all of the rant requests, I think. So, we're going to wrap this up unless anybody has any last minute requests that they want to send in. Now's your chance. Still looking at that cool picture of the beach on that one basic Jumpies profile. I have to remind everybody as well, like, if you are a patron who sees these videos, you have a rant request. I mean, I have plenty of people who are patroning $5 who have not sent a request. You know, take advantage of the opportunity. Requests about what? Rant requests. Anything you want me to rant about, you give me $5, I rant about it. Mostly offered to the Patreon. I'll be doing another rant stream in about a month's time, probably, to answer whatever rants have accumulated in that time frame. That's the way it works. Otherwise, what video games am I playing? I haven't been playing anything, but I've been watching Bird play Dark Souls 3, because that's the next Bird Friends play. So if you've been watching our Zelda playthrough, that's going to wrap up, I think, on like the 20th or something like that. And then Dark Souls 3 is going to be next. And we're near the end of the game on the recordings, so it'll be fun to edit through all of it and start releasing it. There's also a Kirby playthrough that I still haven't edited yet. Nightmare in Dreamland. So that'll happen at some point. Do I prefer Patreon or Substack? I like Substack because it's a blog. So it's like more that you're signing up to get my written articles and stuff that I like. You know, I release some stuff that's under paywall, some stuff that's not. And just generally it's like a place where I can just go and just dump some writing real quick. Whereas Patreon I basically have mostly because of the fact that I have been on Patreon since like the beginning. I have a strong like foundation there and people who are not really interested in like moving platforms. I offer different things on both of them, so like, you know, whichever, like on Substack I don't do a rant request thing. I mean, if you sent me a rant request as a Substack backer, I would certainly honor it, but nobody's done that. It's specifically a Patreon thing. Did I finish Elden Ring? No, I have not. But I have watched Bird make it to the end several times on different accounts. So maybe we'll do some Elden Ring streaming sometimes, now that it's been out long enough that people won't complain about spoiling it. Hopefully. Will I ever write an SCP? I haven't really ever read those, so I don't know much about them. But if you're asking if I'll do creepypastas, yes. Alright, we've crested an hour. I'm out of rant requests. Thanks everybody for coming out. I'll see you in the next one. Go subscribe to Picnic Adventure and Bird Friends Play, where you can hear me and my boy.